This way. Welcome to the last session of the first day of the conference. I hope you've been enjoying yourselves and getting lots of good information. You're going to get, I think, a lot of good information in the next hour. My name is Mitch Borantz. I'll be the moderator today. I'm a fellow of APMP, and those of you with long memories might remember back in 2010, APMP established something called the Electronic Proposal Task Force. That was my idea, and its failure was my fault. The world wasn't quite ready for us. There was a lot of enthusiasm within APMP about how to make video part of what we do. There was not a lot of enthusiasm out there among our customers about how to make video part of what we do. So we worked on this for 4 or 5 years, with great frustration before Rick finally said, you know what, Mitch, they're just not ready for us. Sit down. And so I've been sitting down for a few years, and I was really excited when I saw this topic on the calendar, on the agenda for this year. And when they asked if I was willing to be a moderator, I said, sure. They said, what session? I said, this one. So again, I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to introduce the panelists, and, well, first I'll introduce the panelists. First off, Kevin Ayres. We'll do it alphabetically. And I'm going to read this so I don't mess it up. Kevin Ayres is CEO of Ayres Media Limited, and CEO of 7 Seconds to Win. He's an experienced executive producer who has helped produce fast turnaround pitch videos for over 40 blue chip bids and proposals totaling more than $3.5 billion. Last year, he learned at the age of 42 to swim and sail in that order. Process matters. Hillary Fredrick is Associate Director of Chief. Hillary has a background in broadcast journalism and a real affinity for being around the camera, working with crews to get the right shot and putting it all together. When not working on proposals, she is learning how to play the ukulele. She did not bring the ukulele today, so I said, if you run out of stuff to talk about, she'd play, but no, didn't happen. So what we're going to do, the title of this session is Video and Virtual. So what we're going to do is have Hillary and Kevin talk first about what video and virtual really means in the context of what we do. And then you all are going to talk. I will do the TV daytime talk show thing. I'll be running around with the microphone, putting it in your faces to hear your comments and ideas. We'll hear your responses and reactions to those comments. And on we go. So Hillary, do you want to start by setting the context?
Sure thing. So in my current role, we deal with a heavy mix of federal, 50% federal, the other half commercial and nonprofit clients. Really, the federal space is where the videos are coming out. Last year, in 2017, we responded to 2 video submission proposals. These were kind of innovative for the federal government. They very prided themselves on being video. So to kind of start off and answer Mitch's first question, video, virtual, what does that mean to you? In the federal space, virtual can mean that they just want a talking head. They just want to see maybe 1, 2 people on the screen. They don't want anything fancy. They just want to get that instant connection with who maybe your program manager is and maybe another key personnel. Maybe it's a few people of your key personnel team, but it's nothing fancy. It's just very straightforward. The government has urged to use, your iPhone, your cell phone, no big productions. But video, on the other hand, is where the government has thrown in some extra kind of incentives, if you will, of what they want to see in a video, which means they want to see not only your key personnel, but they want you to explain maybe a case study or a sample task. Show them some type of widget or something that you've created, a minimum viable product, walk them through that. So that's where video kind of gets a little more complex in terms of how you figure out how you're going to put it together, package it, make sure your customer understands it.
Great. So for me, it kind of depends what you mean by proposals. We've got a lot of writers here, so the P in APMP, I think traditionally has meant the physical document and increasingly the electronic document you submit. Okay. So as we talk about video, you can use video in different ways all through the sales process. Before you even get to an RFP stage to develop preference. Increasingly we're seeing, as Hillary said, as perhaps actually the proposal is the video rather than instead of a document, or maybe as well as a document. And as Hillary said also, perhaps it's quite hard to get really creative with that because it's still quite prescribed. Where I see the most benefit, and why I got into this really, is because if, after that stage, if you're in the lucky position of being able to go in and pitch, to do some kind of oral presentation, and I appreciate not everyone in the room's teams do get to do that, but if you do get to do that, that is where video really comes into its own, because video is all about creating an emotional connection. They haven't invited you in to give them yet more information. They've invited you in to see, are you nice people to work with? You know, they want to see the whites of your eyes. And so I think it's a mistake. Knowing that video exists, you know, it's kind of like going and saying, oh, they'll just want radio, won't they? You know, why would, if you know television exists, why would you do radio? You know, so obviously if you're in the car, you can't do radio, fair enough. But in most situations, you know, why are we going in and just showing PowerPoint, which appeals very much to logic, rather than starting with something like video, which appeals to emotion? And that's what we've done a lot of. Because the first one we did, the client came back and said it changed the atmosphere in the room when we showed the video, and it went from being kind of government salesperson to much more warm. It just warmed up the room. And I thought, oh my goodness, we're onto something. So that's how I've got into doing video for proposals. So that's kind of my background.
So I'm curious, in the room, how many people have responded to an RFP with an actual video requirement? Fascinating, because I have been begging for the opportunity to include video and get denied. So those of you who've done this, tell us all, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, what's the approach, how is it different? Who had their hands up a minute ago? Company policy.
I would, trust me, but if you're over there, just this room just sucks sense.
So I've done, I don't know, maybe 6 video proposals now. Just one of my federal customers calls for it regularly. There's a challenge, people don't understand what they look like from the other side of the room. So oftentimes it's working with people to slow down. It's explaining to a man that you have to put makeup on him because of the way the camera hits you. But at the same time, I think it's really helpful because you can consistently reverse things and edit them as much as you need to. So I think it's a lot of personality challenges, and then in addition to that, production at the end of it, having to go in and edit and line up talk tracks with faces and kind of string it all together and put it in the format that the customer wants it is a little bit more complicated than edit and desktop publishing a set of books.
So a quick question, how prescribed was the format of what you had to submit? How much leeway did you have, creative leeway, or was it, no, it's got to be,
So the actual format, when we started, it wasn't prescribed at all, so they would give us an RFP and then it was essentially you have to respond to this RFP in video format. And so what we ended up doing the first couple times that we went through it was we put, it was like a talking head on the screen, and the screen was split with the slides next to the head. And then they ended up actually picking that up. It was not my proudest product. I thought it was terrible, but we won, so I only assumed that the people that went against us probably looked at their cell phone or something really bad. So they ended up picking that up and applying that and then working that through the RFP, and now that's sort of their standard today as they push it out.
Okay.
Welcome to my channel.
Well, I guess just in general, I don't know how anybody who's worked on the video proposals, how their team was set up. It sounds like since you've done a few, have you had to expand your proposal/marketing team to include videographers, to include makeup artists? It sounds like you're putting makeup on people, so how did that affect your staffing to go into
Plenty of you over here.
So I've had the privilege of doing this with 2 companies now, 2 larger companies in the federal sector. The first company, we kind of piecemealed it together. Like I was actually putting makeup on the people I was a proposal manager. We ended up at the end of the process reaching out to a college. I live in DC. Reaching out to a college and using their audio video program to come in and do the editing for us. And everything was kind of reactive, like, we sort of learned as we went, and it was trial by error, and something would break, and then we would have to backtrack and go through the process because it was so new. So we ended up bringing in our film crew and everything else. That company, I think, made the decision ultimately that the amount of DMP required to support, video proposals was not in their best interest. However, I have with another company now in the same area that has a full studio. So they have the camera equipment, they have videographers, they have, a part-time makeup person that they can bring in. And then they have the editors and everybody else. So I think it's a little bit.
Now, you've assumed there that the assumption there is that you need to film people, and you mentioned a presentation. Was that prescribed, or was that an assumption that you made about what you needed to do?
No,
Here we go one more time.
it's just, it was more common sense. It wasn't, like, they didn't prescribe that we had the split screen where it was like a person with a slide. But we determined that because we actually had to turn in the slides, and the slides would be evaluated in addition to whatever the person is saying out loud on video, that we should put them on the screen together. It was not prescribed. So they did give us, your presentation must be within 90 minutes, you have to include these things, just like if you were writing an RFP or if you were putting together, a slide deck for orals. And then essentially it just put that talking head on the screen with the addition of the slides. And then, like I said, so it was almost kind of helpful because you have multiple times to get it right. And this customer either does orals or videos. So once you do the video, it's not like you make it past the checkpoint and then you go present orals. Like you win or lose based on that video, and that's it.
So before people get all kind of worried, I don't have the BMP to pay for production crews or video. I've been fortunate enough to sit face to face with federal agencies, look at their actual RFP requirements, and provide real feedback as a person in industry as to what those video requirements want. One particular agency that I have talked with, they don't want anything fancy. They have it very explicitly stated really nicely in their language, saying that we want typical cell phone quality video. If you spend more than X amount of dollars, you've gone too far. If you decide to do those extra steps, you may result in not moving on in the process because you cannot follow instructions. So that's another thing to think of, is when you're putting together, a video submission, if your customer or client is not clear in what their expectations are, ask it. Because you don't want to be one of those people that goes above and beyond and then get rejected because you didn't follow what was in Section L of the RFP of what was required of you. If you're not sure, how it's really going to be used in evaluation, ask the customer. We ran into an issue where we decided to throw in a lot of BNP dollars for a video. We had a full production crew, teleprompter, lighting, sound, full animations. We had people on screen. They would talk about a certain demographic. We had awesome animations at a pie chart, rolled out next to them with percentages of different key points of metrics that we were talking about. We went all in for that. When we got to the debrief and asked the customer, how did you score us on video? They said, it was good. So, it was a factor that was required to be included with our actual 50-page technical response, but they didn't give any indication as to what kind of importance that video was for them. So, we also got word that the company that won shot it on, a couple of iPhones. So we went above and beyond, and while it didn't really matter to the customer, that was just oh, nice, good job. You made something that was really, really pretty and spent a lot of BMP dollars that way. So just make sure that you're understanding what that expectation is first and foremost. And then, talking with your capture team, talking with your executive team, and figuring out, do you want to go and take that extra step? Do you just want to scale it back based on what the client is expecting?
I'm going to go here, and then here, and then here, and then there.
Just because I've never done one before, so you are actually responding to an RFP, am I correct? There's questions and you go through. So now, do you have to have it scripted? Is it something you sit down in front of the camera and say, we're going to just wing this, or do you actually have a script that you get?
Sure. So for the video that we actually had a full production crew with teleprompter, we actually scripted because it was, the government said 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes to basically summarize your 50-page technical response. So we wanted to make sure that our key personnel in there was hitting the right points, making sure that the points were being well articulated, summarized. But on the flip side of the video that we shot on iPhones, it was more have your people tell us about a case study, walk us through kind of one of your agile development projects. We wanted that to be more conversational. So while we did multiple edits and different takes, we basically let them come up with some key points and bullet points so that they would keep their script on track, but we didn't want them to feel rehearsed. Because a lot of times video too is that the clients know that you're capable of editing and getting it absolutely perfect, but they want to see that actual connection with the people, which is so important. And that's why videos are becoming a kind of a more popular evaluation factor. They want to not only read something or read a summary, but they want to get to that personal connection. They want to meet who you're going to say is going to do the work day to day. Can they work with you? Are you capable? But it's just really they want to get to that face-to-face as soon as possible.
I'd agree with that as well. I think especially if you are in professional services, something like that, where you are basically selling in bodies to do a job or consulting or something like that, you want to know that these people really know their stuff. And so if they can reel off something really convincing in one take and make it sound like, oh my goodness, this person is a genius, then you want to get that. And reading off a teleprompter is actually quite a skill. Even the newsreaders that do it and so on, if you look, you can usually tell they're doing it. And most people aren't very good at it. I wouldn't underestimate that. I much prefer getting people, I'd rather do 6 takes and get somebody doing it off the cuff. And by the way, nobody gets it right first time. But I'd rather do that and get that natural feel, even if I have to cut and edit, than read it off the teleprompter. Because most people, there's a lot of writers in the room, but most people aren't used to writing to be read out. It's quite a different skill, or it's quite a different sound anyway. So it's, it feels much more natural. And so people tend to say things like, yes, this meant that we did that. Who talks like that? Nobody talks like that. It's only in technical writing that. So, if you don't want people talking like robots, definitely try not to use a teleprompter unless you've got somebody who's really good.
The other thing too is the client often wants to see the chemistry between your team. So by having something that's very scripted and very focused, you're not getting that interconnection that I can work well with Kevin and vice versa. We can work well with Mitch, that we've been working together forever, even though we maybe only met, 2 days ago. So it's that chemistry too that your customers are really looking for within your team to make sure that you guys gel, that you can say what you're going to do.
So in the majority of these that you've done, is it just video, or do you have a document you submit as well?
What was the last part?
Is it just video, or is there a written proposal as well?
For the one that we did, it was a written 50-page, and then the video was a summary of that. And what I was able to work with a procurement team on for the federal government, they are looking for, sometimes video is a first down select. So there is nothing written. It is an initial straightforward video. And then sometimes because of that video, once they kind of understand, okay, I think we can work with these people, they seem like they've got the capabilities, then let's give them the actual physical RFP and submit something a little more robust, a little more detailed in your typical, 2,500-page type of response.
Right,
So
because that's going to become part of your contract if you're awarded, right? Don't they have to have that? I mean, usually it's the RFP and the proposal becomes your contract.
right. But
I
I
was
mean,
just wondering if you only do video, what happens after award?
that's a good question. I don't think it's ever, government loves paper, right? As much as they want to Paper Reduction Act and don't give us 50 million binders and tabs and everything, they need that something to hold on to and to go back and score again. So there's always going to be some type of paper trail. I don't think they're quite ready there yet to go completely virtual.
And I don't think they should, because if you're asking for, can you do this? Do you have this level of liability? There's going to be a lot of technical questions that. Why would you do a video? Just be the most boring video in the world to watch. It takes several hours to watch it, and why do that? That's where we have writing. So there's definitely a place for writing. It's just using the right tool. As I say, I'm a little bit frustrated that that videos being used in that way, almost in the middle section, because it almost as well as the proposal, because it's really missing what video is about to some extent. There is that connection and so on, but what government is effectively saying from my point of view is, give us a really boring video, and it's got to be kind of like this, and you shouldn't get, make a video, but don't make it good. Which is like, what? Why would you do that? Yeah, why would you do that? It's what you're going to end up with. And I understand why they're doing that, because they don't want, precisely as you said, somebody going out and spending loads of money, and it's better. By the way, depending on your BMP budget, and depending on how much you want to win, absolutely don't do it with an iPhone, even if they say, I'm not saying, if they say don't spend a lot of money. If they say you have to use an iPhone, then okay, use an iPhone. But there are plenty of ways to make it not look expensive, but it is expensive. If you watch 24 and they show you some iPhone footage, trust me, it's not been shot on an iPhone. It's been shot on a really expensive camera and then made a bit fuzzy, and they've got that funny little overlay with the red blinking dot that you don't see on no video camera ever. You want to get the best lighting, the best sound, and all the rest of it. Then once you've got really good quality, you can downgrade it as much as you like, but you can't upgrade. Most people who are new to video dramatically underestimate how hard sound is, how hard lighting is. I mean, this is all right. I mean, look, it's pretty dull lighting here. The sound in this room, it's not really designed for sound. Even with mics, people are struggling to hear. If you're not tuned for it, you don't notice that there's an air conditioner, and then there's the airplanes landing outside and all that stuff. And then when you listen it back, you think, so video people will spot all those things that you're not tuned to. Like I said, there's some cheap things you can do. Just YouTube, how do I use table lamp and better lighting. Don't stand in front of an open window. That's if you really have to go iPhone. But don't underestimate, if you are going down this kind of having to make boring videos route, don't underestimate how hard that is.
My answer to your question is, think of the video the way you would think of an oral presentation, either the beginning or the end of the process. And nothing's written down. Sure. Yeah, and they can write things in the contract based on what's in the video, and there you are. They can transcribe it if they want. Okay.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. First off is around length. When I hear 20 minutes in video, that really, I'm saying no way. I mean, 5 minutes is too much, to be honest, at least in corporate video that I've ever done. So I'm really interested in kind of what the typical scenarios have been as far as the length. And then the second question is around, this is very logistical, but it's around format and how you're actually getting this video to the customer. So are you hosting it on a secure site? I mean, you hand it off. I mean, you can't email a 20-minute video. I mean, you could try, I suppose. But so that's a pretty large file. A 20-minute video is a very large file, I guess what I thought. So how do you get these to the prospect?
Sure. So great question. So if like I said, 2 videos that I've done, one was no more than 5, the other one was no more than 20. 20, I agree, is way too much. I think that video we came in at 14 something, which was still a lot, but we had a lot of information to cover. If it's not in your section L, then your client did not do a good job. It's not in the RFP, ask. If you feel, if your client doesn't know, recommend as part of your question and answer session, would you mind if this is no more than, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? Try and give them some type of guidance if they haven't given that to you. As far as the format for submission, the one that we did was old school DVD. Burn it, give them a copy or as many copies as they requested. The other was upload it to YouTube via a private channel. Or you can also password protect those videos on YouTube. But in that case, I know I've seen RFP language where you need to give access to not only the contracting officer, but other people. Because when you do that one link, it's unique to them. They can't share it with other source evaluation members. The government also mentioned Vimeo as kind of a no-go. It's not secure enough for them. So I think they're still trying to look at what the best option is. Maybe if it's something that's short, you can embed it into a PDF and password protect that. If it's obviously not a 5-minute or 20-minute video, it's got to be pretty tiny and concise to make sure it's not going to exceed, the megabytes accepted through email for different clients.
I think as well, it depends what, to what we were saying before, it depends what the purpose of the video is. If the video is kind of the proposal, and they've asked for a 20-minute thing where somebody's standing up and instead of you getting to go in and present, you have to present, then 20 minutes is fine, that's what they've asked for. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't want to watch it, but I guess it's no worse than you going in and presenting the PowerPoint. It would be the same as if somebody presented here and talking the slides. If, however, which is the vast bulk of what we do, if you're showing a video or an animated video at the start of a pitch presentation or an oral presentation, then absolutely you don't want to make it more than, you usually try and keep clients to under 2.5 minutes. Inevitably, they tend to creep up and we'll deliver what the customer wants, but our clients want, but we usually try and say under 2.5 minutes. So I think I read somewhere that on YouTube, the stats fall off a cliff after about 2.5 minutes, and that's a long time in video. And the danger is once you get over 2.5 minutes, you're really starting to get to the content, and you're missing the point of what video is about, which is about creating that emotional connection. You've kind of lost that. In terms of the format, for the specific case where you've got the oral presentation, then you're physically there. So you might have a stick, you might have it on your laptop, or you might be giving it to them on their laptop. I would always have your laptop as a backup because, if you're relying on, will it play the file, so you can imagine all the problems there. The other thing which I brought along, we use a lot, are these video brochures that some of you have been past the stand. So what we usually advise is if people are, the reason for showing the video, why I call our product 7 seconds to win, is that video is all about getting their attention at the start, and you could run a huge amount of work just to get in the room, and you can lose it in the first 7-10 seconds because you start in a really boring way, or put it the other way around. If the people who came just before you started with a customized video and you start with PowerPoint, guess who they're going to remember right from the word go? The second problem you have is often the people in the room aren't the decision makers. So how do you get to the decision makers? And video on one of these allows you to do it. So if you haven't seen these are called video brochures. And then you can give these out to the people in the room, and you just now made it really easy for the people in the room to share your elevator pitch to the people with the money. So I don't know if you can hear that, it's got audio, it's got play speaker. So these are totally customizable. There's plenty of people that do these out there. If you Google, and we always include that as part of our solution because anecdotally I've heard that they tend to hang around and they get shown. You just made it really easy, as I said, for people in the room to share it with the decision makers. So in terms of delivery, everyone loves these, and I think it's a really, really key differentiator.
Excuse me, they're called video brochures?
Yeah, video brochures.
And
Or
do you pick them back up when you leave? Or?
No, and this is important. So, because often people say, oh, we tried this, but we did it on an iPad, right? Once you give somebody an iPad, you're bribing them unless you get it back again, right? Which obviously for many people in the room, probably almost everyone in the room, is a pretty big deal. So if you give them an iPad and then you have to get it back again, you just kind of created quite a bad customer experience there because it's a kind of hassle to give it back again. And also with an iPad, you've got to kind of lock it down. They start fitting, how do I get the video back and all that kind of nonsense. Best choice is no choice. These just play your video, so they are worth zero. Once you've branded it all up, I would argue that this isn't worth anything, and so there's no problem giving it. You're not giving them a gift. If you call this something of value, then you can say, well, actually the paper that you've given is probably more reusable for the kids to draw on the back of than this is. So, there is no problem leaving it back.
Okay, we're going to go here, then there, and then the group.
So I just have a logistical question. Both of the examples that have been shared from a government perspective and on the commercial side of the business where we often have really compressed turnaround times. So what kind of lead times have you had to create video? And then what would be recommended for something where it's at least moderate to high production value?
So I didn't quite get it. It was a question about how long a lead time would you have for a commercial?
Essentially create a video. What's the lead time like short for the proposal? It's on the government side, so there's often more time. On the
And that's I've got to be careful. I don't want to make it an advert about my company, but that's kind of what we've done. Because what we see is that people typically won't spend the money on a video for a presentation until they know they've been down selected, because it's going to cost a lot of money, right? So, and it's, I think also quite naturally people feel in the back of their minds, oh, creating a video, we know we should do it, but it's kind of a lot of hassle, you know.
The whole commercial process is 2 weeks. It's not just 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from the time you find out your pitch to the time you're sitting in the room.
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
documents in between them. So
absolutely.
Is, you know, how you,
exactly. So I get a lot of phone calls, you know, like Monday morning, somebody said, oh my goodness, I've just seen what you did for so-and-so, we're pitching next Thursday, what can you do? And I'll say, okay, we'll do that, you know, and that's what we've designed our business process around. It's really fast. It's all about, let me take it off my company. What should you do, whoever you use? Okay, like, so I'm trying to make this an advert. The key is to remember that this is a business story. It's not about making a fancy video, which sounds odd from a video guy, right? But there is, you know, the first thing I say to people is, look, in 2 weeks or 10 days, if it's an animated video, this is not going to look like Frozen. You know, that is impossible. And a good, probably half of that will spend on working on the script with the client, because all you need to do is create so all you need to do is a bit trivializing, but you need to have a good script that's going to resonate with the person you're going to show it to, and then really the visuals just need to be good enough to carry that story. They should be good, you know, don't get me wrong, but it's not so important to have amazing graphics. It's all about a good story first, and then graphics second.
And as far as, I mean, the turns that we do for federal clients, they are 2 weeks or less. I don't have the luxury of 30 or 60-day turns most of the time. But I would say, to help kind of alleviate that process, if you do have a 2-week time, split up the roles within your proposal team if you have that luxury. So, for example, when we had the 50-page technical, I think that was a 3-week turn. I had one proposal manager working on the actual written document. I took over the video piece. So my focus was working with our key staff on that video piece. I was not worried about the written response. If you have the luxury of doing that, I would recommend it, just because it kind of takes something off of your plate, and your focus can really be on one item. The other thing too is figure out your best people in-house that know how to maybe use, you know, the software that comes on your computer or your MacBook. Get them really acclimated on how to edit things kind of quickly, making them still look pretty good. So that way when you do have these very short turns, you've kind of already got your go-to folks that you can say, okay, we've got this in, I'm gonna count on you. You know, within a half day, maybe a day, you can really take care of figuring out, you know, you can basically shoot it and be done with it, I would say within a half day, as long as it's not something that's a 20-minute long length, you know, feature film video.
And that, I think that's true if you're going to shoot the people that you have, you know, because it's you know, somebody I asked this question actually to the APMP forum online, you know, what would you like to know about? Somebody said, you know, it's great for the professional services CV situation that I mentioned earlier on. So in that I definitely agree. You know, if you've got the people there, you've got somebody with a video camera and half knows how to do it, you know, you've borrowed somebody to do some video editing, that can be quite a quick turnaround. I think if you're going to tell a more complex story and you're putting a system together, you've got different piece parts, you know, it's a lot of technology companies represented here. You know, we've done a lot of stuff for IBM. Often those kind of stories are quite complex, and it takes a while. I mean, like I say, it could take 2, 3, 4, 5 days to go backwards and forwards just getting the script right, because and you're going to have a voiceover artist read the script. The visuals are going to be typically animation, because even if you could have somebody talk, it's complex, and animation works really well because you can use visual metaphors to tell your story. And what we found as well, and I've kind of checked this with people, that and this seems to be true, it's almost the more complex the thing you're trying to explain, the simpler the animation should be. You know, that is customer dependent. You know, if you've got a very kind of conservative customer, you might not want really simple graphics, but broadly speaking, you know, I think that's true.
So my question is kind of aligned with the commercial. We don't do federal proposals, but we do kind of
states, cities, government, and we also do a lot of commercial work. Just trying to figure out if anybody's been provided a requirement to do video for those types of proposals. And then the other piece of my question is, has anybody added a video without a requirement? And if so, for what?
I haven't come across any state, local yet that have wanted video. And my first reaction is if they didn't ask a video, kind of don't do one. Only because you just need to know who that client is, because they could see that you went above and beyond and you're innovative, but it also can go back and kind of bite you, and then you didn't follow the letter, you didn't follow the instructions. So I think it really depends on kind of your relationship with that customer. If you're really just trying to be brave and go for that ungettable get, and you're like, if we win this, awesome. If we don't, no big deal, but it would be great if we could win it, then be bold, go after that, do a video submission. But I think it just really depends on your client, and kind of, are they conservative, or are they a little more, cutting edge, willing to push the boundaries?
Did you say, my hearing isn't great, I'm sorry, did you say about commercial or government?
Both.
Okay, so for commercial, I would say, as I said, we don't tend to get involved in creative so much for the actual proposal section, but I've certainly seen that done in quite a lot of commercial situations, because there are a lot less requirements. For example, see companies put together a whole microsite, so-called microsites, like mini websites for a specific deal, and they might create some rich content. It could be video, it could be interactive flash animation, it could be all sorts of things. And the thing about video and all this stuff, you can really spend, as much as you want. You can get Steven Spielberg in to direct the thing if you want. People often say, well, how much does it cost? And the real answer is, how much do you want it to cost? It can cost a small fortune if you wanted to, and it's largely time dependent. So I think if you have that freedom, then I wouldn't even think in terms of. Actually, this allows me to mention another thing about a lady in the previous. I just caught the end of the previous panel, and I think one of the things that concerns me about all this talk of software for controlling proposals and so on, I think that's all good. But I think whatever you're doing, any part of this process, I think we've got to remember that all that efficiency and tools and all that needs to be behind the curtain. Think of the Wizard of Oz. It's all behind the curtain. In front of the curtain, it should be shock and awe as much as you're allowed to. And so just be careful that your efficiency isn't efficiency at the customer's expense. Your team is saying, oh, we can do this, and we don't need to send them bits of paper. We can do it electronically because that's going to save us so much money. It's like, yeah, but if it loses you the bid, who cares? Handwrite it in blood if it's going to win you the deal, right? So make sure that whatever you're doing, whether it's a microsite, we're hearing about this morning, are they how people? If they're how people, then you better get it exactly right and stay in the line. Don't colour outside the lines. If they're why people, then get interpretive dancers in, and whatever you need to win the bid.
We did commercial proposals for BPO, which is essentially a call center, and we use videos in a different way where we introduce our sites, because we have 69 global sites. So we have the Philippines, for example, we have video, and we include them in that way. So yeah, it just kind of brings on the experience of the right actually go there. So that's one of the couple questions. We do customize videos for some clients, like GoPro, and we did the whole video shot from a GoPro. Walking through the site and doing all sorts of things. So it was kind of neat, and we actually delivered that one on our iPad. So we can do that in commercial as frowned on, depending on who you're working with. And yeah, so we have a repository of videos that we use on a regular basis. More so we don't do them as a requirement, but more just as a value add.
Sure, that's awesome that you have that flexibility, and it's a good qualifier for you. Not only do you say we have X amount of people that handle this call center, that you're walking your actual prospective client through, it just proves that you really do have that. You're not gonna go find the facility and lease it after the fact. That's pretty awesome.
We've done quite a lot of videos where you've got call centres, or you've got development factories in India and so on, and they don't want to send a crew out there, and they'll get a local crew to send you some footage. But exactly the case that you mentioned, people want to see a face, because it stops them, the people in India, being resources, and it puts a smiling face. Actually, these are really smart people who know their stuff. They're going to be, they've got a great team here, and they're going to be working for you. And you go, oh yeah, they're real people. They're going to be really good for us,
Yeah, it works really well too with kind of accents and everything. They can hear the people talking.
Yeah, and also, that it's not some sweatshop either. They've got nice offices. It looks kind of like a Western office. These are normal, real people. It's not some black box, offshore.
So my question is about the process for orals. We're seeing a lot more of that with requirements. I'm curious to know, when they're seeing the videos, are they also getting training for presentations as well? Because you said the videos are about 2 to 3 minutes long. Is that presentation team also getting coached? And is that part of the proposal process of preparing them?
I believe from the agencies that I've talked with that they're very focused on making sure that their procurement teams understand if it's a video requirement, how they're explaining it in the RFP and how they're evaluating it. That's been the tricky thing, is that they really need to make sure that you understand and they understand how they're evaluating it. And so they should be following those same guidelines for in-person or oral presentations as well, because anything is subjective. So it's hard when they're evaluating something that isn't written down, that they can go and say, you've talked about task area 1 here and over here, and you're checking the boxes. If you're giving them a video or presentation, Jim over here in the corner might hear one thing but misses the rest. And so it's a little bit harder for them to say, did you meet the mark or didn't? So I think that they are really trying, because they're trying to be innovative. They're trying to kind of push the boundaries. They're looking for ways to be more efficient, evaluate quicker, to make awards faster, that they are being, more focused on what to look for in order to really evaluate and score those. And if they're not, I would definitely push back to that client and ask them, how are you evaluating this? So you can make sure that you're not missing something.
Did you? I thought what your question was more the delivery team. Yeah, they've been trained. So
I thought you meant the evaluator.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Sorry. No, I wasn't sure. So I think they should be, put it that way. I don't personally get involved with that. It's something I've thought about getting involved with. I certainly always coach when the video is being made. The coach, so the script focus is almost, you're almost kind of coaching them to talk about the client, not just talk about we, us. Again, I heard the lady in the previous section, she mentioned a proposal that she'd looked through, and it's all about the company who was delivering the proposal. It's hardly anything about the client that they were delivering it to. And so if I was that client, I'd be like, well, you don't understand us, you know nothing about us, fail. So, and again, I've seen that a lot with corporate presentations. It's, bluster, they talk about themselves, use we, I, us all the time, and it is a real skill to be able to present well, and you should have your rainmaker in there, or your top salespeople who are really good at bouncing off this video that you've started with, potentially. Not least because, the whole point about starting with a video, it's a bit of theatre, and like theatre, if they don't laugh at the joke that you thought was going to be really funny, you need to, well, something's wrong here, have we disconnected? And you need to be able to pull that back, and you need to have people who are skilled enough to know, did this video hit the mark? Because if it didn't, we've now got to pull this around. But if they laugh at the jokes, and you can start, or if there are jokes, or whatever, then, yeah, you definitely need to be trained, I think.
Kevin, I'm going to try to chase in a couple more.
Yeah, go.
First here, then there's one over here.
So, my organization uses video a lot, and we're commercial. And on mega deals, I use a lot with our executives, where we have them do the executive summary of the video to show what our competitive differentiators are. And we're able to also post that to video, I think I mentioned that before, in post-wire, we're able to determine, who has clicked on that video and seen it. We find that works a lot. But we also use the video brochure after a presentation. It'll be behind on what the agenda was for that presentation, just for some people, from the customers who's in and out of the rooms, may not see the whole presentation, so we find that very useful.
Just a little tip, I read a book on about how to use these. I read a book on psychology recently, and I realized that I think we were doing it wrong. We always advise our clients to do what you said. This is a leave behind at the end of the presentation, right? And so I then realized, well, if you're going to show a video at the start of the presentation, that again, it's about an emotional connection and trying to get them to, this book described, which is the chimp paradox, by the way. It's a great book. It's an easy read. It's a very good read. But for the purposes of this, they said if you can engage with somebody emotionally, we all know, you buy emotionally and you kind of rationalize logically, but you really buy emotionally. So if you can use a video or do something that can engage their emotions, what people will tend to do on some level is then cherry pick the information that you give them afterwards, and they will tend to retain the bits that affirm the decision that subconsciously they've already made because they like you, and ignore the things that, well, that's not good, but that's probably not going to matter. On some level they do that. So what we now advise people to do is show the video, and then even though it's going to muck up the flow of the presentation, then immediately give this act. Because probably 80% of people I go to still haven't seen them, and they tend to go, oh wow. Right? And so if they're going, oh wow, right near the beginning of your presentation, you put them in an even better mood, you've engaged them even more emotionally right at the start. And then when you get into your PowerPoint, again, that effect of listening more favorably to your PowerPoint, so use it, I would use this near the start.
I would do notes pages the inside by cover.
Sorry, say again?
I would hand it out and do notes so that you could write on the inside by cover.
Yes, yeah. Or write a personal, if you know the people in the room, you can go, Bob, I thought this would be really, I thought you're really going to like the bit at 2 minutes 27.
Yeah, no, I would want to do the other way around, so that they write inside.
Yeah.
And they take over.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that they auto-play, and then everybody's got the music going, and you're like, just press stop, so, yeah.
I'm sure we could take requirements for that.
Maybe on the back or something.
Go ahead.
So my question is about electronic PDFs. So we're getting asked a lot for those more recently.
So, for what video, sir?
Electronic PDFs.
Okay.
Do you think it's interactive? Is it appropriate to put videos in there, and where, I guess, would you put them, and kind of the link on those?
That's PDFs.
PDF?
Electronic submittals, basically.
Like Adobe PDF, you mean?
Yeah.
So somebody asked us about this, and I looked at it, and feel free to contradict me, but I did the calculations, got the geeky calculations out, and tried to work out how much video could you put in, how big would it be, and, say you wanted, I don't know, 5 or 6 videos to have your executives in the thing. The PDF gets so big very, very quickly, even at or it's so tiny and so awful, it's not really worth doing. That's where I got to. You created such a monster. The video compared to text is just orders of magnitude higher. So it's just huge, as somebody said earlier. When you get your cell phone out and you press record, it creates megabytes within seconds.
Okay, we've got time for one and maybe 2 more. Repeat customer.
Have you ever introduced VR or AR with those videos?
I have not had the luxury.
So I wonder whether to mention this because virtual to me used to mean I used to work for IBM and I used to be involved with Second Life. Any of you heard of Second Life? And I was one of the few people who got to make a job of basically mucking about in a game for 2 years, creating all sorts of weird things. Well, it's basically an online virtual world. So I've got a real affinity for augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, and all these technologies that are coming along. Having said that, given the turnaround time, and given that, this is the third conference I've been to, this is the first time video has come up, and like, how long have we had TV, right? I can't see, augmented reality, unless you are into, massive construction projects in Dubai or something, or very complex, if you're selling submarines, then maybe, but otherwise, unless there's some major 3D requirement, it's the kind of thing that people like me get really excited about, and you go and demo it, and it doesn't work. And you've put a huge amount of effort in, and on the day, we've all been there, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work quite as you had thought that it would work, etc. And so, as much as I would love to do that, and I would love to, the creative part of me love to do all sorts of crazy AR and VR things, my guess, even with these, you can put all sorts of buttons and also, it's just KISS, keep it simple. It tends to work a lot better.
Okay, one more. Last one.
Mine's actually the gentleman who does the executive summaries. That's where I see my company going. The videos, that's a little bit too advanced for us. So with the executive summaries, are they individualized, I guess, each time? And
so yes, we don't do it for every deal, right? It's for the mega deals, so that we actually have really good relationships. So our CEO on there, he has a script that he goes off the cuff. He actually really makes it really personalized. It's all right, but that's how we do it. We work with after the account, and then we use that somebody to talk about how we can solve their problems.
okay, it's just an iPhone video?
What's that?
Just an iPhone video?
No, we have a video crew that are where we customers, so it's pretty neat.
I used to have a boss who had this tendency at critical moments and will say, and oh, by the way, and whatever he said next would just destroy it. So I told him once going into a meeting, I said, Joe, if at any point during the next hour you say, and oh, by the way, I'm going to kick you so hard. Okay, we have 6 minutes left, and I want to take at least 2 of them to address the last 3 words of the title of this session. Are you ready? Is it, Orlando next year, we're going to have a session on hair and makeup. What's it going to take? If you are advising people like me who have always wished we could do video and never have, or who have done it but not very much, this is mind-blowing, things like 12 and 20 minutes. I'm begging for 30 seconds. What do we need to go home and tell our bosses we need to be ready for video and virtual?
I can start real quick. So if you're kind of toying with the idea of what you need to get ready, if you've got those in-house resources, people that know how to work a camera, work an iPhone a little bit better, basic editing skills, that'll get you most of the way there. If you are looking into doing something and having a real production crew at your disposal, take the time, figure out who those people are in your area, make them give you scope, budget, so you kind of understand what you're getting into. Should you need to pick up the phone and say, we've got a submission due in 2 weeks, I need your help, you kind of have that rough estimate in your mind. 2, if you are going to spend that extra money, make it worth your while. When we spent the APMP, we've used that raw V footage for a number of different things. We've used them for in-house videos, for a culture video for our agency. We've used them on social media. You can stretch that budget. So if you're trying to make that case to, upper level management, you really need to spend the money on making a really good video to win the work. But hey, we're going to also use that extra B-roll and repackage it a number of different ways. It doesn't sound so scary when you want them to drop, X amount of dollars on maybe a 3-minute, 5-minute video.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. A film crew will charge by the day, and so if they don't mind if you spend another 10, 20 minutes, 2 hours interviewing executives. You've got they do 3 interviews anyway. They don't care what the interview is, and so while you're there, you might as well get the internal rah-rah for your team. You might all that kind of stuff. Even if they don't edit it, you're not sure what you're going to do with it. You've got it in the can. You can always ask them to edit it later. I think I'd take a slightly different tack to what you were saying, that in as much as I think this kind of internal, folksy kind of approach to video production, as I say, it is hard. And in any other thing in the room, would you approach it? You know, if you're trying to win, typically most of the people in this room are trying to win multi-million-dollar deals. Why would you put it the other way around? Why would you get the intern in the office who's got an iPhone to do your production? It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, do you want to win this thing or not? The only reason I would do that, you know, it's just, you know, you're basically getting a non-professional to do a professional's job, and in no other situation would you do that. And so why would you do it in this situation? Especially when you probably don't know what you don't know. And then 2 weeks later, everybody's stressing out because you know it's all taken longer than you thought it was going to, and so on. I just wouldn't even go down that route. There's millions of video companies around the world. Wherever you are, there'll be a local one. So I would definitely do that. In terms of answering the question, are you ready? I think the federal and the government side thing, it's just what you're allowed to do. Definitely find out what you are allowed to do, but if, you know, depending on whether you're a how person or a why person, you know, if they haven't said, you know, the requirements, then maybe push it or say we'd like to do this, you know, or don't, just do it anyway, and you know, if you know, that's down to your risk factor, you know, that's up to you. But if they haven't specified and you are allowed to do, why make a boring video? Why not make an amazing video if the deal's big enough? But for commercial, absolutely. Why on earth would you not? Unless they've said you can't use video, why on earth would you not make an amazing video? As long as it's over, I don't know, $1 million or something for the deal, why would you not? And trust me, the day will come when you lose to the person who did make a fantastic video, and then you go, why on earth didn't we make a video? So absolutely, are you ready? Get ready like yesterday, last year.
But does that mean hire in-house talent? Does that mean have your number of
if you have a large number of deals, and SAP, you know, Jamie mentioned, you know, that they have an in-house crew. You know, they're doing lots of huge deals. It makes sense to have an in-house team. But the same with anything else. If you're doing, you know, one deal every few months, why would you have an in-house crew? You know, that's why you subcontract things out. So, you know, find somebody that you like working with and bring them in when you need to. Yeah, that would be, you know, just people are experts in the same way as you do the same for any other skill you need to hire in.
Okay. So, just to me, it's really exciting for this to be a topic, because 8, 9, 10 years ago, when we knew it was coming, we just couldn't get much traction. Here we are now, the agencies, the sponsors, the companies are saying, yes, do it, and here's how. And that's what we really want as proposal people, is not to have to respond to 15 different standards from 15 different customers. And I do honestly believe APMP can be the agent to make that happen. Not me. I took my shot, I got crushed. But I mean, I hope that APMP takes another shot at this. There's a lot of experience and enthusiasm and knowledge and understanding of the potential in this room and in this hotel this week and on this stage. So it's going to be really exciting. I mean, you heard me say at the beginning, I think, that when I started in this business, color pictures were rare. And by the time I finished, moving pictures will be common. So it's really exciting to see these people who are making that happen. Do remember to go on the app and rate this session, how great the speakers were, how inept the moderator was, but I did get my steps in, so that was good. And dinner tonight, dress up in your Hollywood clothes. We're all going to make videos, right? And there we are. Thank you very much.
You can grab some either now or you know, around. I've got to stand 7 seconds to